Hey everyone, thank you for checking out another video. This one should be really short. I just want to talk about a quick technique that I'm trying to get better about using, and that technique is switching from RGB color mode into HSB. So I've got this really simple code set up right now for P5.js where I'm just drawing a circle. I've got that circle right here. I'm just drawing it on a black square, and it's got a cyan color, which is just 0, 255, 255 RGB. But there is another color mode that many artists like to use, and it's HSB, and it stands for hue, saturation, and brightness. So let me write that out. Hue, saturation, and brightness. The reason that people like to use this is because it's a lot easier to standardize the types of colors that you're generating if you're relying on randomized color. With RGB, it's really difficult, and I've experienced this, but it can be really difficult to get a nice organic feeling structure to your colors if you're just randomly generating RGB. With hue, saturation, and brightness, you're able to control each aspect of the color individually, so you can keep the other aspects the same. It's something that I'm a little inexperienced with because I've been using RGB exclusively since I started, but as I'm getting a little bit more mature with the generative art that I'm working on, I'm trying to learn more about color myself, so I figured I would share just very briefly kind of what it looks like. So in P5.js, and this is very similar for the other types of processing, so if we were doing Python processing, you could do that as well, but we're going to call color mode HSB, which is the type, 360, 100, 100. And I think this is right. I'm just going to save it and make sure it's still running. Okay, so what this mode means, or what these parameters mean, we've got the hue, the saturation, and the brightness ranges. So 360 is the range for the hue. I saw an article that I read through about HSB where it kind of relates the 360 to a color wheel. So think about every aspect of the wheel, or every color on the wheel is represented by a different degree almost. So we start with red, and you go all the way around the wheel, and if we were to put in 360, we would be back at red, and then you go through all the other colors as you move along the hue. These 100 values are also for ranges. They're just lower for the saturation and the brightness. So if we were going to use the color mode, we could say 0, and if we were maxing out, we would say this. And you already saw it a second ago. I don't think I saved it. But we're at red, and that's just because this is how we would represent the color red in this color mode. But if we take this value, remember this is not RGB anymore, this is HSB. So this value is now representing the saturation. If we drop it down to 50, and I save it, same hue, same brightness, but much lower saturation. So if we were to change this to 120, now we're at green, but we've kept the saturation the same. So maybe that red and that green might look a little bit better when they're together. And then I think 180 is a blue color. So you can see these, well, we can try the brightness real quick before I talk anymore. So we'll drop the brightness to 50. The brightness kind of speaks for itself. We're getting closer to black. So if we put it at 0, regardless of the hue and the saturation, we have a black circle. So that's just a quick look at the way HSB works. And if we want to see all the colors, let's try this. I think I have this set up. The C value probably doesn't mean anything to you right now, but let's add, so if I add var C equals 0, and then, or we'll just say var equals C, and then we're setting C equal to 0 here. We're not going to fill here. We're actually going to start filling in the draw function. And we're going to say C plus equals to 1 every frame. We're going to set C equal to C mod 360 to make sure that it's always a value between 1 and 360. And then we'll fill with C. And we can set the saturation, let's just say 80 and 100. And then we'll draw that circle in the draw function right here. Okay. So now we're just cycling through all the colors on that color wheel that I mentioned. If you think about it as a 360-degree wheel of color, we're just cycling through those colors at a slightly lower saturation than 100. But if we come back and we drop the saturation down to 20, we come back over. Now it's a much more muted color. I'm personally excited about becoming more adept at using HSB and trying to move away from some of the unpredictability of RGB. Maybe you're on the same path. Hopefully you're excited about stuff like this. If you are, leave a comment. Remember to hit the subscribe button. I'd love to hear suggestions for anything that you want to see in the future. I have a lot of fun making these videos, and I mostly just hope that other people enjoy them as well. So if you're still here, thank you very much for watching. I couldn't appreciate it more, and I will see you in the next video.